Welcome to the Wind Up with Will, everyone. I'm your host, Will, here again with another video talking about sports. So, I'm just going to go over the college football national championship game, college football playoffs, whatever you want to call it. I call it the college football invitational. That's essentially what it is. We're going to go over that real quick, the college football national championship and the NFL playoff games this weekend, as well as the end of the NFL regular season. Might mention some possible award winners. Um, well, I'll leave the awards for later, since we'll make this a shorter video and just talk about the playoff situations. So first off, in the college football playoff, if you didn't know, Michigan beat Washington 34-13. Some people were jokingly calling this the men's and women's bowl or the restroom bowl because both teams' logos are a W and an M. Women, men. Some people were making memes saying it was the restroom bowl. But Michigan won 34-13 over Washington, winning their first national championship in the not only the I would say post AP era. So like after the AP was done determining the champion. So you had the BCS title game and now the college football playoff. So they won their first national championship since '97. Their first in the college football playoff era / BCS era. That's huge for Michigan, huge for their brand, huge for Jim Harbaugh, who's very well could be going to the NFL here soon. Great to see him win. His dad won a national championship at Western Kentucky in FCS, so Division One AA, and his brother has won a Super Bowl by actually beating him in that Super Bowl. So Jim Harbaugh is also now a champion in that prestigious family of coaches. But Michigan won the game. They dominated. They ran the ball down Washington's throat. I figured Michigan would win, but I figured it'd be a close game. I believe I said they would win 30-27. I was expecting a much closer game than that. I thought the way Washington just eviscerated Texas with that perfect passing from Michael Penix that they would, I don't know, perform better. But Michigan just showed that they were the best team this year. Something worth noting that I didn't know until a few days ago, and watching some videos talking about college football, talking about Michigan, was that Michigan actually didn't have that high of a recruiting class this year, and even, I guess, a cumulative recruiting of all of their classes. I think they were like 14th or something in recruiting, but won the national championship. So like that, I think that goes to show that it's that the top teams in recruiting don't quite have the stranglehold. I think that's good for the sport, and I think that shows that you can win without just having 5-star recruit after 5-star recruit. So I think that's good for college football. I think it's good that we had a different team outside the SEC win it. Um, I think it's good that Michigan won it. They essentially kind of a blue blood in college football, and they've gone a while without winning a championship. So it's good to see a different team win it, bring new life into the college football playoff, and it's a good way to go into what is about to be the 12-team playoffs next year. Um, the 12-team playoffs, I think, is going to greatly improve the playoff system. We're going to see new teams. I think we'll see a more variety of teams winning it. Now that's not to say that we're never going to see Alabama win it again, or they're only going to win it like once every 6 years or something. Like I don't think it's going to get that crazy where there's a different conference that wins it every year. But I think you'll have more variety where you could see a Penn State win it. You could see an Ole Miss win it. You can maybe see Florida State or Florida get in there and win it. Who knows, a USC, maybe even my Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Who knows? I think you're going to see a wider variety of teams um, win the national championship or just get to the Final Four or make it to the championship. And I think that's for a few reasons because as you put more of these teams into the playoffs, because a lot of these teams don't play each other at the end of the year. Most teams play like 12 games a year. If you play you're in the conference championship, that's 13. Most teams play like 12 games, 12, 13 games a year. So and there's 130 Division One FBS schools, so you're not getting to play everyone. So, like, I think there's a kind of a misconception when it comes to comparing maybe a disconnect, and it's hard to compare different conferences because there's always, well, the SEC is better, and it probably has been for the past 2 decades. They won most of the national championships, but at the same time, they're not playing the Big Ten every week, or the Big 12, or the Pac 12, or the ACC. That's not to say that that means that the SEC isn't the best. It's just saying that we don't have a great sample size in that. And especially in the college football playoffs, in some years where you put two SEC teams in, it gives the SEC a better chance at winning it, better odds to win it. So with 12 teams going in and a champion from each of what is now going to be Power Four conferences, I think we'll see some different teams win it. And I think we'll see some surprising wins by teams that previously we would have said, no, they're not going to beat that SEC opponent that's not Alabama or Georgia. They're not. There's no way they can beat Ole Miss. There's no way that they're better than LSU. But I think we're going to see some surprise wins by some schools, by some different schools, just upsets in the first few rounds, perhaps. Maybe even see a different team win a championship. But I think it's just because we're going to see a bigger sample size of these top teams from different conferences playing each other now that we're going to see some of those upsets, and we're going to see some surprise wins. And I think it's also going to level the playing field a little bit because instead of, and I think this has been the issue with the 14 playoff, is you have the same teams make it every year based on the criteria of best team. So there's not really an automatic qualification or a wider playoff where all these other teams have chances. You basically had to be one of the four best teams, which was Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State most years. So guess what? Where did the top recruits go? Those three schools. And who continued to be good and continued to be the best teams? Those three schools. And occasionally you get Oklahoma or Notre Dame or another school that would be the fourth best, but really there is a disparity between them and the other three. Well, Georgia kind of LSU and Georgia kind of finally break it. LSU had that amazing year a few years ago with Joe Burrow, and Georgia was able to, even without really spending or having, trying to think, without doing quite a few transfers or having a large investment in NIL money, Georgia was able to win back-to-back national championships. So he got a little away from that, but it was inevitable. It was eventually going to come. But when you have the same teams make it every year, where are the best players going to go? They're going to go to a team where they think they can win a championship. So they're going to go to Alabama, Clemson, or Ohio State, and you're going to get some of them then go to Notre Dame and Oklahoma and Michigan or one of these other schools that might have a chance to get to that fourth spot. So it means all quite a bit of the best talent is going to those schools. Well, what happens when you expand the playoff field? When all of a sudden you have 12 teams making the playoffs and you have all of these other opportunities as a player to show how great you are and get national recognition and have a chance to compete for a national championship, and you don't have to ride the bench or kind of have to share time on the field with another player at Alabama or something, why not go to Ole Miss? Why not go to Penn State? Why not go to Florida or even South Carolina or Tennessee or a different school or I don't know, Oregon or UCLA or USC. You have you have far more chance now, far more opportunities to make the playoff with all these other playoff spots. So I think it's going to spread out some of the talent a bit. Of course, it's not going to fix everything, but I think you're going to see a little more evenness among some of the teams instead of having two, three, four teams just be at the top and be so far above everyone else. I think it's going to bring it kind of more here, where you're still going to have some disparities because let's face it, Alabama's still a huge draw for recruits, but it's going to even the playing field a little bit. Sorry, my throat's a little parched. But I'm excited to see what the 12-team playoff holds next year. Um, I can maybe briefly go over who would have been in this year in a 12-team playoff. Now, it's worth mentioning that I got to change the weeks. Let's go to week 15. Yeah, week 15 there. So in a 12-team playoff format going into next year, we don't know quite the format yet. And what I mean by that is there's going to be automatic bids into the college football playoffs next year. So you're going to get the top 6 highest ranked conference winners getting in, and 6 at large teams. Now, this was originally decided when there was still a Power 5. So you'd have 5 power conference winners, because that's what they're assuming. They're going to be the highest ranked team, highest ranked conference winners, and 1 at large team. But with the Pac 12 essentially folding, this means you have 4 power conference winners and 2 group of 5 conference winners that are in the 12. So there's already talks, and it's been going on for a bit. I guess this entire time since the Pac-12 folded, of we may like this isn't what I'm saying. This is what the athletic directors, people in the college football playoffs are saying. Hey, maybe we should, only go to 5 automatic conference winners. And the reason is they don't want more than one group of 5 team in because it hurts revenue. It's going to hurt money, and because the people making these decisions are from the big schools, they kind of want their school to have a chance to get in. So I'm not a fan. I think it'd be better to just let all the conference winners in, do what the FCS does, do some kind of format like that. Do 16 teams, do 20 teams, 24 teams. Heck, you can go up to 32 teams, whatever. Just, I think it'd be better to get the conference winners in. I think there's a lot of benefits in having everyone in. Every other college sport does it. NCAA men's and women's basketball, softball, baseball, soccer, men's and women's soccer, men's and women's volleyball, field hockey, lacrosse, ice hockey. All the other sports have the conference winners in, all of them, and then at large teams. And it's fine. And where's all the whining and complaining about, oh, well, they don't really deserve to be in? It's always, well, if you're as good as you say you are, you'll beat them. So I think that I think that for fairness, everyone should have a chance to get in. But I'm getting a little bit on my soapbox here, so I'll get off that. This is what the 12-team playoff would have looked like this year. This year, if it had been implemented. So you'd have your top conference winners would be Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Florida State, and the 6th team would be Liberty. Liberty is in, what conference are they in? They're in Conference USA. So same conference as Jacksonville State, New Mexico State, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, Louisiana Tech. Is that Sam Houston? Yeah, Sam Houston, UTEP, and Florida International. Sorry. Got to slow down. I'm drying my throat out. So you'd have your top. Well, it wouldn't be top because they'd probably see Liberty 12th. But you'd have your 6 conference winners is Michigan winning the Big Ten, Washington winning the Pac-12, Texas winning the Big 12, Alabama winning the SEC, Florida State the ACC, and Liberty winning the Conference USA. So that's your 6 teams. So then you'd have the next 6 teams be uh, based on where the college football playoff had them ranked. You'd have Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Missouri, Penn State, and Ole Miss. Oklahoma, LSU, Arizona, Louisiana, Notre Dame, and so on and so forth are out. They weren't good enough. Which Notre Dame, Louisville, Arizona, all probably weren't getting in anyway. Oklahoma and LSU have. LSU's 3 losses, so they probably weren't getting in. But your teams would be Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, and because of the format, the top 4 teams get a bye. The bottom 8 teams play each other. Gets it down to 4 teams, and coming out of the first round, then playing the 4 teams that have a bye gets you 8 teams, and it works out from there all the way up until you have a champion. And they've said the first round teams are going to have home field advantage. Now, I think it's from what I've read, it makes it seem like that the teams have a bye don't get to have a home game. That'll be a bowl game. I don't think that's necessarily fair to the teams that get a bye, even though they get a bye. I don't know. I don't think that that's quite fair. But your bye teams this year, based again on how they rank them, would be Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama. You'd probably have Florida State host Liberty. You'd have Georgia host Ole Miss. Ohio State host Penn State. And Oregon host Missouri, unless they were to go to some kind of way of ranking them where you didn't have same conference teams playing each other, which is kind of what the FCS does. But that's kind of an idea of what it'd be like. Just most people aren't aware that are automatic qualifiers for the conference winners. But that's what the college football playoff could look like next year. Just potential based on those rankings this year. I've rambled on a little too long about college football. Let's move over to the NFL. So starting tomorrow, this video is I'm filming this kind of late. So by the time most of you see this, it will be tomorrow. It will be Saturday, January the 13th, when the NFL playoffs start. So let's briefly go over what happened this past week. The Texans beat the Colts, and my Titans upset the Jaguars to hand the Texans the division. You can thank us, Texans. I know you're upset all about that, where you're all upset about those Oilers over there that we get to claim to be the Oilers. But, we just handed y'all the division, so I think thanks are in order. But the Texans won the AFC South out of that. Cowboys hammered Washington, and the Eagles lost again to the Giants. I mean, the Eagles are just falling off, and Cowboys win the division. All they need to do was to win against Washington. The Bucks won the South. The Lions locked up the 3 seed. Packers got in as the 7th seed. I'm trying to think of any other. Oh, the big one was Buffalo beat Miami on Sunday night to win the division and go all the way up to the 2 seed, dropping Miami to the 6 seed, meaning they're playing in Kansas City this weekend in what could be the coldest NFL game ever. I think they're saying the wind chill's like negative 30 degrees. It's far more colder than the Ice Bowl, which I think was like 0 degrees in Green Bay between the Cowboys and Packers in the, the 67, 68. I think it was the 6. Would have been. Would have been the 67 NFL championship between the Packers and Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. That was the coldest. I believe it was 67. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it was 0 degrees, or it might have been below 0. That was called it was nicknamed the Ice Bowl. So cold. Well, I think we have a new Ice Bowl between the Chiefs and Miami. They've not canceled the game yet. That's tomorrow night on Peacock. How much are the Chiefs are favored by 4.5. I kind of think that it's going to be around that. I kind of think that the Chiefs are it's going to be a close game because of the cold. But Steelers snuck in. They got the 7th seed in the AFC. And the Buccaneers locked up the NFC South with a 9-0 win over the Panthers. Now, getting to the playoffs this weekend, as I just mentioned, the Chiefs and Dolphins play each other in what's probably going to be the coldest game in NFL history. Chiefs are favored by 4.5. Miami struggled a little bit outside of beating my other team, the Dallas Cowboys. They struggled a little bit in the month of December. They kind of choked the division away. They have a lot of injuries on their team, a lot of defensive injuries. Raheem Mostert on offense has been banged up. He might not. I think he's questionable to play. Tyreek Hill's had an ankle injury that's bugged him for like the last month or so. Jalen Waddle's been injured. There's just been a lot of injuries on the Dolphins, and they've not. They're a warm weather team. They don't play well in the cold, and I think Tua is like 0-4 in the NFL in games that are like under 32 degrees or something like that. Um, so I don't see the Dolphins winning. I do think they'll make it interesting, but I'm going to take the Chiefs 17-13 in that game, just under the 4.5. Um, I think it'll be close, but I think the Chiefs will win. I think they're the better team. The other playoff game tomorrow, or when you watch this, will be on Saturday. The other game on Saturday is the Browns at the Texans. The Texans won the AFC South, so they get to host the top wild card out of the AFC. That is the Browns. The Browns are 1.5 point favorite, and I would take the Browns. I'm not a betting man, but I would take the Browns. The Browns are going to. What was that? Was that a fly? What was that? Um, the Browns are going to win this game. They're the better team. They've been playing well. I know they didn't play well last week, but they set a bunch of their starters. Joe Flacco has been balling, showing that he's an elite quarterback, and he's on a destiny to face the Ravens in the next round. If they're beating the Texans, they're going to beat them. And the Texans just come off an emotional win last week against the Colts. They needed help to get in. They're on a high. The Browns have been just cruising lately. I'm taking the Browns. I think they're just going to play better, and I don't know. The Texans have just they seem to be anytime they make the playoffs, they're a first round exit. So I'm going to take the Browns in this game. I'm going to say they win. I'll say they win 31-17. I'm willing to say that they do that. They've got a great defense. I think they're going to beat the Texans. On Sunday, January 14th, we've got the Packers versus the Cowboys. Now, I should also mention there's a lot of great, interesting scenarios, or I guess stories, in this NFL playoffs. One of them being the Cowboys, and Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Cowboys, is hosting the Packers, his former team. Cowboys and Packers have met a few years in the playoffs, and the Packers have just seemed to kind of beat the Cowboys recently in that. But Cowboys are 7-point favorite in this game. I think the Cowboys are going to win. I think the Packers will keep it interesting, maybe for 2.5 to 3 quarters. But the Cowboys are the better team. They've got a great offense. I know Jordan Love has 30 touchdowns on the year, but there's a reason the Packers are 9-8, and the reason the Cowboys are 12-5. The Cowboys are a good team. Now they've struggled at times against good teams, so I think we might see some of that appear against the Packers. But the Cowboys are far better, far and away the better team. They have the better offense. They have the better defense. They're going to win the game. They've got home field advantage. They're undefeated at home. They're going to beat the Packers. That's the end of story. I say they're going to win. So they win 31-21. I think the Packers will get it within 10. Then the other games, you've got the Bills and the Steelers. Bills are the 2 seed in the AFC. They're hosting the 7 seed Steelers. They're a 9.5 point favorite. I believe that's the largest line on any of the playoff games. That is the largest line on any of the playoff games, and I would take that. The Steelers have no offense. University of Iowa has a better offense in football than the Steelers, and they wear the same colors. That's why I say that. The Steelers have their offense is so hit or miss. It is either on or it's off. It's hot or cold. It's like a shower in my apartments here. It's either hot or it's freezing cold. The Steelers are not going to win this game. They don't have any chance. Their only chance of winning is if Josh Allen throws like 3 picks in the game, and even then they probably still lose. They don't have an offense. Their hope is to have a great defensive performance, and I think T.J. Watt is out for the game. Um, I believe that was either that or he was injured. But either way, even if he does play, I don't. The Steelers don't have an offense to overcome. The Bills have been playing good recently, and Josh Allen is going to show why he should be in the MVP conversation. They're going to score a lot of points on the Steelers. I'm going to say they win 35-14. That's my pick. Then the other playoff game on Sunday is the Rams and Lions, another story game. The Lions hosting their first playoff game at Ford Field against the Rams and their former quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Detroit Lion legend is coming home to play the Lions in their first home playoff game in Ford Field history. The Lions are looking for their first playoff win in like 30 years, I think since 91. I believe that was against my Cowboys here. Um, they're looking for their first playoff win in 30 some years. And as much as I want to pick the Rams to win this game and upset the Lions again, the Lions are going to get it. They're due for a playoff win. Same thing with with the Bengals a few years ago with Joe Burrow. They went forever without a playoff win. They finally get a good quarterback. They finally get a good team, and they win. They had a great quarterback, Matthew Stafford, but the team was never any good. Well, the Lions have a good team now. They have a good team. They're 12-5. They won the division. They had a chance. They had a chance, small chance. They had a chance to be the 2 seed in the NFC if things went right, or if they beat the Cowboys on perhaps a missed call. So the Lions are pretty good. They're a 3-point favorite in this game. I'm going to take the Lions and say they win 27-24. Right on the money. I think they're going to win. They're going to upset Matthew Stafford, and I think it's going to be very poetic. No disrespect to Stafford, love him. He's a great quarterback, possible Hall of Famer. Probably should get into the Hall of Fame one day. But it's going to be very poetic that they get their first playoff win in 30 years against their former legendary quarterback. And then the Monday night playoff game is the Eagles and Bucks. The Buccaneers winning the NFC South are hosting the top wild card out of the NFC, the Eagles. This game is a little odd because a few weeks ago we'd have said the Cowboys would be in this position, and more than likely it would have been the Cowboys. But the Eagles have just fallen so far. They're still a good team. They're still a good team. They're nothing can. I'm convinced that hardly anything can stop the tush push, the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. The Eagles have a great offense at times. They're good in short situations, and they've shown flashes of being good. Jalen Hurts is, I wouldn't say he's in the MVP conversation, but he's in the bubble. He's on the bubble of the MVP conversation. He had a great year. He had 15 rushing touchdowns. He's a good quarterback, and the Eagles have weapons. Now, the Buccaneers have been playing really well recently. Baker Mayfield's in contention and in position to perhaps win Comeback Player of the Year. He had nearly 30 touchdowns this year. I think he had 28 touchdowns. He had 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, over 4,000 yards. Um, and the Buccaneers have weapons too. Now they're only 9-8, but they've been playing a lot better recently. The Eagles are a 3-point favorite. I'm taking the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to win this close game. Um, I think the Eagles are going to make it interesting, but I'm going to take the Bucks 27-24. They're going to win this game. I think they've just been playing better recently. The Eagles have struggled, and I think losing out in the division is kind of the nail in the coffin of their season. That they kind of choked away the division, and it's going to be kind of like what my Mets were like a couple years ago in Major League Baseball. When you choke the division away like that to end the season, sometimes it just messes with your psyche, and you can't fully recover, and you can't play right in the first round of the playoffs, and it just doesn't go right. It just doesn't go how you expected it to go, and it just throws you all for a loop. You're just squirrely, and it just doesn't work. And that's the case with the Eagles Bucks here. Give me the Bucks 27-24 over the Eagles. So that means if my predictions are correct, that means next week that the Baltimore Ravens, will be hosting the Browns, and what will be another storyline matchup in this NFL playoffs of Joe Flacco, the former great Ravens quarterback that gave him a Super Bowl, will be facing the Ravens trying to win another Super Bowl. That'll be another great storyline. And then we'll get a another Chiefs Bills playoff game. But this time it will be in Buffalo. It'd be very exciting to see them host the Chiefs in a playoff game. Also means that we've got on the NFC side that we would have the Packers hosting the Lions, who they played just a couple weeks ago. Back in week 17 when they last played. Just a couple weeks ago, they'd be facing each other again. If both of them were to win, and that would mean that we would have the 49ers hosting the Bucks. And if those are to be correct, I will say the Cowboys I'm going to say the Cowboys beat the Lions. 49ers beat the Bucks. We get 49ers Cowboys in the NFC title game. The AFC, I think it'll be a great game, but I'm going to take the Ravens over the Browns, and I'm going to take the Bills over the Chiefs. And in the AFC title game, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the Bills over the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. As much as I don't want it to happen, the 49ers, I think, might just beat the Cowboys. I don't want it to happen, but they're the better team. We might have a Bills and 49ers Super Bowl possibly. But those are just some potential thoughts of what could happen down the line. Obviously, but I do think the conference title games definitely will be between the Ravens and the Bills and the 49ers and the Cowboys. Cowboys are going to get to their first conference championship since '95. I'm looking forward to it. I think we've got a good chance to get there, and perhaps even a Super Bowl. Things got to go right in the NFC title game. Maybe the Bucks or someone else can upset the 49ers, give the Cowboys home field advantage. That would be great. But we'll see what happens. But those are my picks for this weekend in the NFL playoffs. Um, I'll do another video after the playoff games so we can go ahead and be predicting what happens in the next round. I would say though my favorites to reach the Super Bowl though are probably, you know what, I'm going to change it. It's close between the Bills and the Ravens, but the Bills, Ravens, 49ers, as well as the Cowboys, I think those are my top teams right now for the Super Bowl. And I think there's a lot of people's picks to make the conference championships. I think the Cowboys have got a good chance. You have to have some things go right in the conference title game if we get there. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the playoff games this weekend. Let me know your thoughts on the NFL playoffs. Who's going to win this weekend? Who's going to win the Super Bowl? What are your thoughts on the college football national title game? What's your thoughts on the 12-team expanded playoff next year? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Adios.